Sahana vavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What was the purpose of explaining Maya's Vikshepa and Avarana Shakti? Covers our existential questions, right? It answers those questions that are going to be there and that have always been there, and without which we can't have a break. You always want to find out. See, every philosophy, right, has a model of the world. So how is other philosophies different from the Vedic model of the world? For the Vedas, we call, this is a Apaurusheya Jnanam. Apaurusheya Jnanam means it is not knowledge that is conceived through a personal speculation. See, we have a lot of philosophers in this world, and they have made models like Plato and Aristotle, and they've attempted through since a long time to explain how did all of this come. But the thing is, if you look at that model and you say, well, how is this making a difference in my life, right? Is it like something that I just hold in my head and then, but is it like really having this transformation in my day-to-day life? So the difference with Vedanta is it not only connects this creation process to you, because we're saying this creation is not apart from you. It's not like there's a creation there and and you're one little thing. The whole thing is just one, manifesting as two, right? One manifesting as two. And when we say that Vedas is Apaurusheya Jnanam, Jnanam means knowledge, and Apaurusheya means it is that knowledge which goes beyond human inference. That means even if you apply inference or logic, you still can't figure out how did the universe come, because nobody was there to write down how the Big Bang came and what was there before the universe. No one was there. So this means the only place where you can find this knowledge is it has to be by Ishvara itself. Because if Ishvara is the creator, then and Ishvara created all of this, then how do I trust anything, right? Which was kind of attempting to provide me some snippets of how it all came. There's no refuge. There's no peace like that. So we need this knowledge to have some model. And now you say, well, how do you know it is from Ishvara, right? How do you know it's Apaurusheya Jnanam? How do you know that the rishis who have given this knowledge through their meditations and through their looking into reality, how do you know that this reality, this knowledge, is keeping with the truth? And Adi Shankara, very intelligent, he used to do something called Nanu. Now, Nanu you saw in Tattva Bodha. Purva Paksha, that's another name. It means objection. So he used to take these statements and then try to find some logical problems in them, and then try to see if there's any logical fallacies. So the tradition is not just sort of this, someone got it and now they wrote it down and we're just studying this of what someone got in their meditation, because you can't really trust that, right? You can't afford to put your whole life into knowledge that was designed by one single person, yeah? So this is the difference between Vedas and prophets, right? Prophets like Jesus or Muhammad, right? Whether they were there or not, it doesn't really matter, but it's like one person. And so they provide you one perspective of reality. And you learn about love, and you learn about forgiveness, and this is all great. But then you still ask yourself the question, then what about everything else? So that already shows you that this knowledge, right, is partial if it's coming from one single person. So for the knowledge to be truly complete, it has to include every single facet of reality, which you just can't disagree with. If you look into it, you try to break it down, you can't find any logical problems there. So therefore, this knowledge, right, through the thousands of years, was this, coming together of different rishis, and they tried to provide different logical, try to expose their flaws, and they just couldn't do it. And the knowledge that took place thousands of years ago is exactly the same knowledge that we're learning now. And even now, with all of our technology, we can't contradict it. You can try going to ChatGPT and you can say, refute this statement that all that is here is Ishvara. And it's going to give you some, I've tried this myself. It's a wonderful thing to play a role model. They try to provide an objection and you need to answer those objections. So it trains your mind to stay sharp. And no matter what they say, you always have an answer to their objection. So even a computer with all of its knowledge, trying to, drawing from different references, different philosophies, different, what yoga from Vishishta Dvaita, right, from different philosophical views, you still can't break down this logic. So now think about how long, right, with so much philosophies, and they all sound good, how long does it take to come to this? This is mind-boggling, right? It's not just like a random, and even if it's a random coming, then you have to explain that. You have to explain, how is it that I just randomly popped up here? For example, my teacher Nima, she just straight found Dayananda. The rest of us, we kind of went through here and there and there and there, so many things, and we all end up to the same knowledge. And the Veda also talks about that. It explains away what is it that makes one person come to this teaching and understand it, and another person take their time and reject it, sometimes sit down, it sounds good, and then walk out to something else. So the Veda also explains that. And then you bring in your human, the question of how do I make my life work in a way that is keeping with the laws. And the Veda also has an answer for that. The whole Yoga Shastra of the Brahma of Bhagavad Gita talks about that. Written thousands of years ago in India, apparently. And then you bring that into the West, it works even today. So we call this evergreen knowledge. So firstly, we acknowledge that. We acknowledge the tradition. We acknowledge our rishis. The Upanishads, anonymous. There's no author on there. They already understood that the person who's writing this, there's no sense of ownership. It's a trusteeship. So who is there to put a name onto this knowledge? So the tradition, this lineage continues going, being passed on, being passed on, being passed on. And there's no need to improve it because it's evergreen. There's no need to refute it because it's already been done by the dozens of different opposing views in the Brahma Sutra. That's the whole Brahma. You've heard of Brahma Sutra? The whole thing is about, at that time, Buddhism was, dispersing itself, and Vedanta was losing traction. So it had to find, right, these logical, it had to refute all of these opinions that were being, brought into Vedanta. And the whole Brahma Sutra analyzes this text. And then we had acharyas who, through their efforts, they say, well, this is too long. The Gita is too long, the Upanishad is too long, the Brahma Sutra is too long. Let's create Drig Drishya Viveka. Right? Let's create something very short with 46 verses. And then let's move on to the next verse and let's see what it says. Verse 14. Srishtihi nama brahmarupe sat chit ananda vastuni abdhau pene adivat sarva nama rupa prasarana. So it's talking about srishti. Srishti is creation. And the question is, what's the purpose of, again, I'm asking the same question, of discussing creation? And the answer is, it brings out what is missed. It's there, but it's missed out. So as long as it remains missed out, then you live in a world that you don't know how it works. And therefore, there's this resistance with the world. So we need to bring out some things that may be causing our doubts, our skepticisms. And the verse starts out by saying, whenever you see a form, any kind of form, your hands, your body, your thoughts, okay, your emotions, your memories, these are all forms. In other words, Drsya. Okay, anything that is seen by me are forms. Anything that is experienced by me are forms. Anything that is inferred or thought about or remembered by me is forms. So whenever you see a form, that's exactly where you see Maya Shakti. Because Maya Shakti is all knowledge, all power, in potential, always bringing, right, the next thing to come up. It's, for example, right now, your cell is manifest. Right now, your white blood cell is manifest in this moment. But what about how it's going to look like in the next 1 second from now? Where is that potential? That potential we call Maya. But while it's manifesting, we call that Ishvara. So whenever you see a form, you're not only seeing, because you can't kind of separate potential for the next thing to come and it coming right now, because it's constantly happening like that. So it's not like first it comes and then it takes a break and then the new potential comes and then that also takes it's constantly one and the same. So the form comes, wherever I see a form, that's exactly where I see this Maya Shakti, this projecting power. And when this projecting power manifests, we then call that Ishvara. And what does Ishvara do? It organizes whatever is projected, constantly organizes it, puts it together in permutations and combinations, puts these particles together, arranges them in such a manner that when they combine with something else, they produce a brand new form, a brand new function. Okay, this is science that I'm talking about. You take atoms, you combine 6 H and O, right? Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, 6 carbon, 10 hydrogen, 5 oxygen, you have lignin, right? But if I look into those carbons, if I look into those atoms, I can't find them. So I can't find the final building block in this universe. Think about this. You can't find the final building block under a microscope. That's why they're looking for the, what's it called, the God particle, right? So they want to see a form. But what we're saying is wherever you see a form, that's exactly where intelligence is. Because you can't find a final building block, but what you can find is all of those forms are putting themselves together. And whenever you see intelligence, you cannot think of intelligence without it existing and being in the presence of a conscious being. So this means all realities are right here, right now. How do you demonstrate this? Very simple. Before a thought comes, that means it's in potential. Awareness is there. Does it mean just because the thought is in potential that it doesn't exist? No, it just means it's in potential. So that's called Maya. So you don't know what's going to happen, but something is going to happen. When it does happen, it's manifest. That is Ishvara. So before the thought comes, I am. When the thought comes, I still am. After the thought goes, I continue to be. I still am. So look at this. Ishvara, Maya is there. Ishvara is there. And Sat, this existence is always there. throughout. So it's not like Maya is one thing, once upon a time before the universe came, there was Maya, and now there's Ishvara, and then again, when the universe resolves, again, it will be all Maya. The whole thing is right here, right now. There is potential for forms to come. The forms are coming right now. And throughout, there is existence and awareness, because you're aware all the time. Take, for example, your brain cell. Wherever there is a brain cell, that's where the knowledge power is, making that brain cell what it is. Wherever there's knowledge and power, making that brain cell what it is, that's exactly where existence and awareness is. Okay? So in other words, even if you look at your form, like your body or your hands, it's still nothing but existence. It's nothing but the final reality. So if you think about this, then what's the point of trying to look for a reality at some time in the future? Because that means these three realities are not here right now. If all there is right now Maya, Ishvara, and existence and awareness, 5 minutes from now, what's going to happen? Maya, Ishvara, and awareness. 10 years from now, what's going to happen? Maya, Ishvara, awareness. So what does the person want? Like, what are they looking for then? If this is the only thing you're ever going to get. So you see what we're doing? We're bringing you to now. What's happening right now is all there ever will be. There's nothing more than this. It's now the mind who comes and says, no, I want more. This has to be released, this notion. This is really all there is to it. Therefore, what moksha really means is just understanding these realities are present right now. What a seeker wants is they want to bring some new reality in the future. That's the definition of seeking. That means some reality that I'm looking for is sparked in the future, and if I do certain things, I'm going to obtain that reality. But what we're saying is all realities are here in this moment, and you're not apart from them. You can look at your hand. This is Maya, this is Ishvara, this is existence and awareness. I don't need to go somewhere in my little meditation to find this reality. Everything is the reality in this moment. So we take a wave, and again, we give the wave some eyes, and the wave is like, looking at kind of other eyes, and it comes to a teaching. It receives a teaching. This wave, not this wave, this wave. Suppose you're this wave. It receives a teaching, and it comes to see, well, all of these other waves, including myself, this wave, this wave, this wave, this wave, all of these other waves have their existence not apart from the whole ocean. The whole ocean is what we call the projecting power and the veiling power. It just forms. It creates infinite forms from the one reality. And so it receives this teaching, and it comes to see that all waves have their existence in this one ocean, including myself. And all waves are nothing but the same content, the same water right now, the same consciousness, the same reality, the same content. So whenever I look at the ocean, what am I also looking at? I'm looking at the wave. And whenever I look at the wave, I'm also looking at? Let me put it this way. Whenever I, suppose this wave says I, right? Whenever I see the ocean, that means I see whatever I see, right? The forms. What is the reality of that ocean that I'm also seeing? Right. The same content which made that statement, right? The water. So you can't can the wave ever objectify itself? Can the wave ever say, I am the water? Right? Because its words are water, its thinking is water, its worries are already water. Why? Because it exists, right? Worry exists, thinking exists, concern exists, right? The whole thing exists. So the only thing that the wave can really do is it can look at the ocean, appreciate the ocean, and then understand cognitively the reality of this ocean, of these forms, is nothing but the water. It's a cognitive understanding. And I want to keep on stressing this. If we don't bring this up, then it becomes something to look for an experience. An experience implies that the reality is not here right now. When the wave touches the ocean, what is it simultaneously touching? The water. Will the wave ever not touch the water? Does the wave have to jump over there to touch the water? Does the wave have to close its eyes to find the water? Does the wave have to sort of, go to the Indian Ocean, jump into the Indian Ocean through, a transportation and find the water over there? Can the wave ever get away from the water? When the wave is looking for the water, what is it doing? When the wave says, I don't have the water, I don't have the reality, I want to find the reality, what is the wave doing?
It's outside. Desire.
Yeah, it's actually getting away from the water. You see? The more the wave wants to find the water, the more it's getting away from the water. The more the wave starts to think about the water, the more it's getting away from the water. Because it can only think because of the water. It can only imagine because of the water. It can only desire because of the water. The water is giving it existence to think, to worry, to desire, to doubt, to ask.
It's like what we do, humans going and course or fooling, trying to find an answer, and the answer is already there.
Yeah, you see? Yeah, this is it. It's like, the glasses. That's why we say this is a praptasya prapti journey. That means the only thing that's preventing me from understanding I already have the glasses is my not knowing it. So someone has to point out that, hey, the glasses you already have. So the more I go outside, the farther I get away from glasses. So what Advaita wants to show you is that it's owning up, just owning up that everything you will ever find is already right here, right now. It's just a cognitive owning up. What is the opposite of owning up? Let's ask this. What is the opposite of owning up? You know what the word owning up means?
No.
How do I explain owning up in another language? Okay, what is the opposite of acknowledging what is? Denial? Thinking, yeah, perfect answer there, thinking. Whatever, now you can put whatever you want inside thinking. What's opposite to owning up what is? Thinking that it is not. Now, what makes you think it is not? Your own stuff. Then how do you come from thinking, right, what is not, into thinking what is? By removing the notion that I have to think what is.
Detox your mind.
You understand? I have to think what is? No. I have to drop the notion that I have to think what is. I have to see. If the wave wants to kind of, think, let me think what is. It's getting away from what is. So when we say owning up, simply understanding this is it. What is it? The fact that the form is here. Wherever there's a form, that's exactly where the intelligence is, making that form what it is, function in the way that it's functioning, being that form in the way that it's being, and wherever there's intelligence, that's exactly where the final reality is. So you can't get away from reality. You can't get away from reality because this is reality. There will never be a time in the future when reality is different than now. The only thing that's going to be different are forms. Thoughts are going to be different. Concerns are going to be different. The weather is going to be different. But still, there are going to be forms. Whenever there's a form, That's exactly where intelligence is. Where there's intelligence, that's exactly where it enjoys its final reality, the truth. It's just like the wave understands that, yes, look, I am a wave. This is acknowledging I am a wave. But the essence of both the wave and the ocean is the water. I am a person. No denial. But the essence of the person and the whole universe is one and the same reality. That's just understanding, not an experience. Because experience will very quickly change and go and so on. But fact is a fact. A fact never changes. 1 + 1 = 2. That's a fact. And what is a fact here? The reality is already right here, right now. Now, what's the connection between the ocean, wave, and the water? What kind of a relationship is it? Ocean, wave, and water. Satya Mithya. So we put the ocean and the wave in Mithya, and we put the water in Satyam. So now what does this mean? It means that both, neither the ocean nor the wave can exist without the water. Their entire existence is in the water.
So therefore, the form and intelligence is also put into the Satya Mithya.
Yeah, exactly. The form and intelligence is also, however, in reference to the final Satyam, they're both Mithya. Okay, in reference to the water, both the ocean, that means Ishvara, and the form, or the jiva, or the person, they're both Mithya. Because they both depend on the final reality. And what do we say about Satya Mithya? Mithya just means, it's really just Satyam. That's all Mithya is. It's just Satyam obtaining a different form. Just like the wood is Satyam, and the table is Mithya. So Ishvara is like all of the furniture in the universe. And the jiva, the person, is like one single table. But wherever there is Mithya, that's exactly where Satyam is. Now, is this logic going to only apply today? No. It's going to apply tomorrow. It's going to apply for eons. So what is moksha? Understanding wherever there is a form, that's exactly where the reality is. It is the reality. So there's no need to deny and say, I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my concerns. This is utterly useless. It's silly. It's denying reality. There is an empirical reality that has to be dealt with. The understanding is where there is a thought, that's exactly where reality awareness is. So how can fear take you away from you? Fear is only in the presence of you. Even when you're fearful, I know that I'm fearful. Why? Because there is awareness shining on the fear. How can you ever forget yourself? Even if you say, I forgot myself, in the presence of awareness, I have forgot myself. Even when you think you have forgotten yourself, there's awareness of that entire thought. Awareness is the reality. Even when you say, I am ignorant, there is awareness of the fact that I am ignorant. Awareness is the reality. I am happy. There is awareness of I am happy. Awareness is the reality. Now, what's the only difference between a wave and an ocean? Yes, they're both water, but if there is a difference, there is a difference. And what difference would that be between the wave and the entire ocean? Yeah, and it's small. Therefore, it's small. It's limited, right? It will die. But when it dies, it goes in the ocean. The ocean doesn't die. The wave dies. Okay? The wave has limited knowledge. The wave has limited powers. The wave has limited strength, limited information. The ocean has limitless, because in the ocean all waves obtain. That's why we say Ishvara is all-knowing. Because Ishvara enjoys your knowledge, enjoys my knowledge, enjoys Buddha's knowledge, enjoys everyone's knowledge. But I only enjoy my knowledge. You only enjoy your knowledge. So there is a difference at the level of knowledge and power. Therefore, I can't say I am Ishvara if what I really mean is I am all knowledge, all power. As a person, I'm not all knowledge, all power. But when I say I am Ishvara, where is that unity? When the wave says I am the ocean, what is this I referring to when it says I am the ocean? The very water which the ocean also is. This is where we keep our perspective. To say I am Ishvara is fine. But what you really mean is not all knowledge, all power, because we don't even know how to fly a helicopter, but Ishvara does through the helicopter instructor. But what we can know is that my truth, as a small being who's trying to live a life to the best of my ability and your ability, the truth of my being and the truth of the being of Ishvara is one and the same. That's where our unity lies. That's where your connection to Ishvara is. Not at the level of knowledge and power, at the level of the content because of which I am, because of which Ishvara is. The only difference is Ishvara knows it. Ishvara knows its nature. But the jiva doesn't. The jiva has to go to Ishvara's knowledge to know the reality. So Ishvara has no ignorance. Maya there's a term for it which we call Upadhi. So take this bottle. It's clear. Whatever I put behind it will be shown to you. Okay? So this glass bottle is called Upahita. Upahita means that which as though takes on attributes of something else. But it doesn't actually take on the attributes. Right now, it as though took on the attributes of red, right? But has it really become red intrinsically? No, because if I go like this, it's still clear, right? Therefore, this is Upahita. Upadhi is that which as though lends its attributes to something else. Not actually, but as though. So therefore, when I go like this, right? Now the redness has as though lent its attributes of redness onto this Upahita. So it seems like this thing, Upahita, has now taken on redness, right? And now it seems like it's taken on greenness, right? But the fact that you can change one color onto the next, right, onto the next, it means that Upahita is free of the Upadhi, okay? So when it says that Maya is Upadhi, then consciousness is Upahita. So what does this mean? It seems like Maya, as though, keeps on lending attributes onto awareness. What kind of attributes? Your thoughts. Your thoughts are Upadhi. So every single time a thought comes, it seems like it's as though lent its attributes onto my awareness. That's why you are always aware of some thought. You notice this? You're always aware of some thought. Why? Because wherever there's awareness, that's right behind it is Maya. And Maya is always lending its attributes to awareness, such as thoughts, such as this person, such as, whatever, right? Bird, sun, earth, constantly lending attributes to awareness. So knowing this, are you ever going to enjoy pure awareness while Maya is here? No. Therefore, what's the point of looking for pure awareness in some special place? What's the point of looking for consciousness in some special place in the future? Where when Maya is operating, generating this world, there's always a mixture of consciousness and form. And can you separate consciousness and form? No. But you can cognitively. Understanding, yes, there is awareness and there is form, the Upadhi. The fact that nothing sticks, right? You can have one change after another and you never have the previous attribute stuck onto the Upahita, means that by definition, what does that mean? The Upahita, awareness, is without any attributes.
Can we say all the attributes are of awareness?
They are incidental to awareness. What incidental means is they're borrowing awareness to manifest themselves. You cannot say that attributes are of awareness, because if there was one attribute to awareness, then you would be aware of that attribute all the time. Even right now, I would ask you, what attribute are you aware of? And you say, well, I'm aware of thinking, like doubt, for example, doubt. But then 5 minutes from now, your doubt is gone. Okay? Your doubt is gone. So this means awareness doesn't have the attribute of doubt. If it did have the attribute of doubt, your doubt would never leave.
Mm-hmm. When we say awareness or consciousness is Sat, Chit and Anand, are these not attributes of consciousness?
To understand the reality or to understand anything, we need words. For example, if I say to you, hey, I want to explain to you something that is round. Hey, look at something that's round. And you're like, oh, round. No. It's also shiny, very shiny. And then immediately you exclude the clock because the clock is not shiny. And then you say, round and shiny, okay, bulb. And I say, no. Round, shiny, huge. Sun. Now, some people need more words than that, right? You need to say round, shiny, sky. Aeroplane, right? Oh my God. Round, shiny, sky. What else can we say, right? Hot. Sun. So like this, the reality is just, it has no names. Reality has no names. But to point the person to the reality, you have to give 3 minimum words. And this is what the rishis have figured out. You say existence. That's not enough. Because then you say, oh, okay, existence. This exists. That's not enough. And then you say one more word, awareness. Immediately you exclude a lot of things. Where does your focus go now? Onto that one who is enjoying awareness. And then what kind of existence awareness is this? It is without a second. It is ananda. There's no 2 existences or awarenesses. There's only one existence awareness. Therefore, they are not attributes. They're just pointing out the reality using words. Now, why is there not 2 existences awarenesses? We did the logic of this. Do you remember? Suppose I say there's 2 awarenesses. How would you argue that?
2 means there's difference.
There's difference. And difference means attribute. And when there's an attribute, I ask you, what is your awareness like? Like, how is your awareness different from mine? And you're going to mention something that is nothing but an attribute, right? It comes in time. Tomorrow, it's not going to be there. Okay? So attributes are always Upadhi. Upadhi is always Maya. Maya produces attributes in this world. Color, right? Life, wind, fire. These are all manifestations of reality because of Maya Upadhi. That's just how it is. Just like when you go to dream, okay? You have a mind, and the nature of your mind is to do what? Project the world. Can you stop that? Do you want to stop that? It's going to be a big fight. That's just how it is. Not only do we have that power to project a world of differences, but so does consciousness, the reality.
Does that apply to the animal kingdom as well? We have the intelligence, they don't have that to speak it.
Yeah, true, true. So the animals, they're given rudimentary intellect. So as good as survival, procreation, finding a warm house, but to bring the attention onto oneself, or a cow can die because there's no grass, and all it has to do is just chew meat. It actually is probably capable of digesting meat, but it can't chew meat because it doesn't have that advanced intellect to select. Right? The free will is not there for the cow. Right? That means an animal cannot choose to eat, to become a vegetarian, right? Or herbivore or carnivore. It can't choose that. So in the aspect of evolution, the animals are also sentient beings, and they have to go through this journey to evolve to the status of a human being.
And human being is the last in terms.
Good question. The human being is the last, is the only thing you need to understand the Vedas. In 1 million years from now, our form will be very different. You only need a being that's capable of opening up a book and self-reflecting regarding its nature. Whether that human being, whether you want to call it a human being or an alien, it doesn't really matter. But it needs to understand the words and have the capacity to self-reflect. So in that sense, you don't have something more advanced, because when we speak about creation, creation has a process, and it always creates 5 perception organs and 5 action organs. So there's no being in this universe who's got 10 perception organs. Whether you want to talk about Brahma Loka, heaven, whatever world you want to speak of, they all have 5 perception organs, which means every single world has 5 types of objects: sound, visuals, taste, smell, and feeling. So even if you go to a different world, you're only going to see these 5 forms, different combinations and permutations. So the whole universe is just a mixture of more sounds, more things to see, more tastes, more visuals, more feelings. That's all there is to it, to the universe. Right? So those looking for heaven, what are you going to find over there that's not already here? Yeah, you can walk through a wall because your body's different, but then you're going to get bored, probably. Oh, great. You're not going to get hungry, but still, you're still a wave. Even in heaven, you're still a wave, a very small thing. And Vedanta releases you from limitation. It releases one from a sense of limitation, from being a wave, whether in heaven, whether in Swarga Loka, Pitra Loka, Satya Loka, whatever Loka you want, whatever world you have. Okay? Therefore, the person gets out of this desire to travel, to travel to better worlds, to have more, more luxury, more nicer tastes, nicer musics. You just get, the interest is gone. What understanding is moksha? It's understanding that you, as a person, and Ishvara are both incidental. You know what the word incidental means? Incidental just means a projection. Were Maya not to exist in consciousness, this will not be happening right now. There will be no problems. There will be no need for knowledge. There will be no need for all of this journey. But it just happens to be so that consciousness has Maya. And because it has Maya, we have to go through this. You just have to go through this. But luckily, there is relief. There is an end to it. Think about this. Just because it has Maya, this is why this is happening. If it were not to have Maya, everyone would be enlightened. Everyone would be just pure Sat Chit Ananda.
There would be no world, no creation.
No creation, no world. Everyone would be full. The whole being, right? The whole being, without any, need for eating or, all of this stuff. But this is creative power. That's why they say Maya is a creative power. Now you say, well, why is there Maya? Why is there Maya? This cannot be answered accurately because, see, you have to be then bigger than Maya to answer that question. But there is Upanishadic statements that do state why do we have creation, but not why we have Maya, right? They say we have Maya because that's just how it is. If I ask you, why does the sun rise, not that it rises, but why does the sun rise on the east and sets in the west? Why could not be the other way? And then suppose it's the other way. Well, I can ask the same question. Why does the sun rise in the west and not in the east? Right? So that's just how it is. The Maya is just there. And maybe it's good that it's there because the person's been ignorant since beginningless time. And when they finally come to celebrate, that means dropping your body once and for all, now you enjoy infinite celebration of being free. Maybe that's why. Maybe because if existence awareness is limitless, that means that there is not one thing that is not possible. That means limitation is also possible. You know what limitless means? It means there's no boundaries. It means everything is possible. And if you take the possibility of Dvaita out, then it's not limitless. It's limitation. Maybe that's why. But the point is, we do have Maya. And because we have Maya, we have to go through this journey. But when the journey stops, it is indeed a celebration, an eternal celebration for finally breaking through, this coming and going, samsara, coming and going of limitation, of forms. The Upanishads does state why we do have creation. And it says, because the jiva, as I explained, has been here since beginningless time. And therefore the jiva has always had the desires. And those desires always need a world in which I can fulfill those desires. Therefore, as long as the jiva has been, desires have been there. As long as the desire has been there, you need to accommodate the world. You need to accommodate the jiva with the world to put them there. And that world needs to be able to provide 8 billion different desires. More. Infinite different desires. So you need to populate that world with minerals and resources, which you can then exercise your free will and create objects, create computers, create semiconductors, create an iPhone, create a touch screen, create a sword, create a house, create, whatever you want to create. And that lets the jiva continue working out its stuff, because that's what the jiva wants to do. Who comes on earth just to kind of meditate? You don't come to earth to meditate, you come to earth to get stuff. Isn't this true? A person gets born to get stuff, to do stuff. And that world has to be able to accommodate that doing. Now, if you don't have a chance to do stuff, is there growth? No. It's like being put in a solitary confinement in jail, where you can't do anything. The person wants to do, but they can't. So they get very, very frustrated because there's a desire to extrovert myself and do. And therefore the world has to be there to accommodate that desire. Endless desires. There are yet to come many more desires that are going to become by jivas who are to be born 30,000 years from now. It's going to be a very different world. But the point is, a jiva will still be seeking something for fulfillment. And it's not going to provide any fulfillment because it is very limited in its satisfaction. Every object is very limited. Therefore, it can only give you a limited result.
In that jiva's journey, that it's playing out its desires, karma plays a big part. And that karma that's been played out by that jiva along its journey can disrupt, so it's going up and down according to the punya papas.
Yeah, it's like a stock market. There's no this. We often think it's like this. It's not like this, it's like this. So even if you learn a lot, it doesn't guarantee that the next life the person will have a smooth journey. Because they can easily go to school, they can hang around with some kids, and the kids get them some, whatever, drugs, and they kind of get hooked on that, and their path goes to a totally different journey. A Mahavakya in Vedanta, Maha means great and Vakya means statement. So a better name for it is a statement that is it's an equation. A statement is an equation. Now, if you think about what an equation is, two things on each side, right? And so one, whatever this is, equals whatever this is, right? So if I say to you, if I give you an equation like 3 plus 2 equals 6 minus 1, and you say, and suppose you look at it at face value, 3 plus 2 equals 6 minus 1. And you say, well, there's no connection. There's 3 and 6, 1 and 2, plus and minus. There's no connection between them. So then how do you bring that to a resolution? You have to apply a certain resolution, right? You have to solve on one side and you have to solve on the other side. And so if you solve 3 plus 2 on one side, you have 5, and you have 6 minus 1 on the other side, you have 5. So initially it looks different, but upon solving, it's the same. So an equation, just like with E equals mc squared, right? You say, well, how is energy matter? And how is matter energy? Well, easy. Energy can convert into matter. For example, heat energy converts into chemical energy. That's called photosynthesis, right? Or energy, or matter converts into energy. You eat food, that's matter, and it converts into energy of prana. Okay, so it's very simple. So the formula is meant to show you that even though matter, something that's hard, looks very different from energy, something that's more pervasive, upon solving, you actually arrive and you see how it is possible. So a Mahavakya is the same. It shows you that initially on one side, when it says, you are that, you are Ishvara, how can I be Ishvara? This is blasphemy, right? This is blasphemy. You don't call me Ishvara. Well, of course, if you look at it from a standpoint of you, the wave, and Ishvara, the whole ocean, there's no match. So, initially, yes, there is a difference, but upon solving the difference, I have to look at what's called the lakshyartha. Lakshyartha is the implied meaning. If I look at it through vachyartha, that is the direct meaning. So the direct meaning is you means what? Body, mind, right? And if I say Ishvara, direct meaning, vachyartha, the whole thing. How can a limited thing be the whole thing? That's not an equation. That's nonsense. But there is people out there who are saying these things. I know everything. So obviously you have to apply a different kind of technique. That's called lakshyartha, implied meaning. Implied meaning of you is sat and chit. Literal meaning is very different from implied meaning. In fact, 99% of the scriptures is just implied meaning. This is why so many conflicts come in this tradition, say, how can you say this thing? It's contradicting that statement. You don't know what you're talking about. And so they just attack. Why? Because they're looking at it from direct meaning, right? The vachyartha. So the teacher needs to come in and show you there is an implied meaning behind every statement. And the implied means just a deeper meaning. You have to be thought. It has to be well thought through to come to the implied meaning. Therefore, you can at the same time appreciate the differences, but through and through those differences, you see there is a unity. And that unity is Sat and Chit. Suppose you are Ishvara. It's a projection. It's also a macrocosmic projection of Maya. What difference would that make? Suppose you're all knowledge, all power right now, manifesting as this universe. If both Ishvara and Jiva are both projections of Maya, then what difference does it make whether you're a small projection or the entire projection? It's still a projection. I don't want a projection. I don't want to manifest as all objects. I want the whole from which even Ishvara arises. Look at this. In this world, we want to be somebody. I want to become slightly better. But through understanding, I understand I don't even want to be Ishvara. And the person in the world wants to be some successful person. I don't even want to be Ishvara. Because even Ishvara is mithya, depending and having no existence apart from Sat and Chit, which is my real nature. One can, through this thinking, release the need of trying to become somebody. If one doesn't even want to be Ishvara, what is there to say? Ishvara is all knowledge, all power. Don't even want that. Because you're much bigger than all knowledge, all power. In one of the Upanishads, it says that Ishvara is like a little dot in a limitless Brahman. A little dot. I don't want to be a little dot. Limitlessness only. Therefore, our orientations change of how we live. And therefore, you come to accept, hey, I am limited, small. I can enjoy that and do my little part as a wave in the ocean. I can do my little contribution. I can drop this need of trying to be perfect because there's no such thing as perfection in this world. And I can just do my little part and release the need of judging, release the need of putting labels onto things and calling them different names. It's none of my business. Earth is just a nice meeting place to understand who you are, to appreciate this intelligence and leave. Not here to get caught up, not here to start to get involved in this and that and go outside my circle of influence. The only thing that you and I can do is know your little circle of influence, your strengths, your little circle of influence, and that is all that Ishvara is asking. It's not much. Because you often have this grandiose, I have to save the world. How many avatars who have incarnated have actually saved the world? They all failed. The world doesn't want to be saved. The world is totally okay as it is. Because the world is nothing but a cause-effect relationship between what has happened and what is now an effect. The world that we're living now is a product of so many things that have occurred in the last 200, 300, 400 years, 1,000 years. That's what we're experiencing right now. Once upon a time, we had ordinary phones, and someone thought of a touch screen, and now we're all enjoying touch screen. Cause effect. So doing my little part, my little circle of influence to the best of my abilities, that's all Ishvara is. In Krishna, that's what Krishna says to Arjuna. In chapter 2, verse 20, Arjuna, Atma is that which does not die. It does not get wet, does not get dry, does not get dirty, contaminated. Atma is the truth of the universe. And then he follows up, knowing that, go and do your duty. Go and fight. Now, fight means just duty. Do your duty. For us, it's not fighting. For us, it's just doing your little circle of influence. So in that kind of understanding, I can gladly do my duty because I understand there will never be a great person here. There will never be there's always someone better. So we can drop the idea of comparison and being somebody, because if one doesn't even want to be Ishvara, what is there to say about being a better person? It's a short-lived experience anyway. The only thing that a true jidnyatsu means one who is totally committed, once is limitlessness itself. Full stop. Brahman. The whole reality. In whom resides Ishvara, in whom resides Maya, in whom resides the form, in whom resides time and space, in whom resides the Big Bang, in whom resides the 5 elements, in whom right now resides this class. So all of those before us who have attained liberation and have dropped this body, that one is now the being, the total being. And we are in that one. So when you drop your body, considering you've understood, then in you, the one without a second, there are still people, as are right now, who are trying to figure out the reality. I have a picture. I used AI to generate this picture, and to kind of portray this whole relationship between Brahman, Ishvara, and Maya, and the Jagat, the world. But if you imagine, like this is Brahman, right, the one being without a second, and see how Brahman is holding a book, right? Now that book represents knowledge, therefore Maya. Now what comes out of the book? Sorry? What comes out of the book? The Jagat, the whole world. And what's inside the Jagat? The universe, right? Time, space, and objects. And who's inside the Jagat? A wise person. And who's listening to the wise person? Those who want to understand what the wise person understands. And what does the wise person understand? That my truth is the same truth as Brahman's truth. And the rest who are listening are trying to understand what the wise person has already understood. Ishvara is the book. Finally, verse 14, Sarva Nama Rupa Prasarana, and everything else is just different names. Now, why do we have so many names? You have to differentiate one from the other, otherwise you can't function. So just like I said with water, water has many names. Iceberg, frost, rain, pond, river, snow. All of this is just referring to the same water. So they're just expressions of one reality, but the reality is always one and the same, taking on different form because of Maya Upadhi. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.